Islamic banking has grown rapidly in Malaysia as an alternative financial system that emphasizes ethical practice, risk sharing, and compliance with Sharia principles. Despite strong institutional support and increasing availability of Islamic banking products, the adoption rate among university students remains relatively low. Many students continue to rely on conventional banking due to factors such as personal attitude, social influence, limited awareness, and perceptions of bank reputations. Since university students are future decision makers and potential long-term customers, understanding their intention to use Islamic banking is essential. Although Islamic banking services are widely available, students' intention to use them remains relatively low. This may be due to limited awareness, misconceptions about Islamic banking products, or weak social and reputational influence. Therefore, identifying the key factors influencing students' intention is essential. Next, I will explain the research objective of this study. The first objective of this study is to examine how attitude affects university students' intention to use Islamic banking. This objective focuses on understanding whether students' personal perceptions and belief towards Islamic banking influence their willingness to use it. The second objective is to determine whether social influence affects students' intention to use Islamic banking. This includes the influence of family members, friends, and people who are important to them when making banking decisions. The third objective is to examine the level of awareness and its impact on the students' intention to use Islamic banking. This objective aims to identify whether students' knowledge and understanding of Islamic banking products or principles play a role in shaping their intention. The fourth objective is to determine the relationship between the reputation of Islamic banks and students' intention to use Islamic banking. This helps to understand whether trust, credibility, and image of Islamic banks influence students' decisions. And finally, the fifth objective is to identify the most influential factor that affects university students' intention to use Islamic banking. This objective is important to determine which factor has the strongest impact and should be prioritized by Islamic banks. Based on the objective, this study seeks to answer whether there is a relationship between each independent variable, which is attitude, social influence, awareness, and reputations, and also the dependent variable, which is students' intention to use Islamic banking. The scope of this study focuses on the university students in Malaysia. The study examines their perceptions, intention toward Islamic banking, especially looking at the 4 independent variables and the 1 dependent variable. This study is significant because it provides useful insights for Islamic banks to improve marketing strategies and assist policymakers in promoting financial literacy, contribute to academic research, and increase students' awareness of Islamic banking.
Assalamualaikum, and my name is Muhammad Khair Razi bin Jainuddin, BG24110298. For background of the study, Islamic banking is financial system based on Sharia principle and ethical finance, emphasizing risk sharing and transparency. It has experienced strong global growth, particularly in Malaysia, where it is supported by a well-established Islamic finance framework. However, despite this development, adoption among university students remain inconsistent. Recently, adoption has shown improvement as financial literacy increases and Islamic banks enhance their digital banking services. First, attitude refers to student positive or negative view toward Islamic banking, where a more positive attitude increases the likelihood of adoption. Social influence also play a role as family, friends, peers, and religious figures shape student perception of what is acceptable and trustworthy. Awareness involves student knowledge of Sharia principle and Islamic banking product, and higher awareness help them make more informed decisions. Finally, reputation relates to the trust, credibility, and ethical image of bank, where negative perception can reduce student confidence and willingness to adopt Islamic banking. This study proposes 4 hypotheses to examine the intention to use Islamic banking among university students. Attitude, social influence, awareness, and reputation are expected to positively influence adoption. The conceptual paper framework shows these 4 factors as the independent variable, while intention to use Islamic banking is the dependent variable, indicating how this factor influence student adoption decision. In summary, this chapter review existing literature on Islamic banking and its adoption among university students. It discussed four key factors identified in previous studies, namely attitude, social influence, awareness, and reputation. Based on the review literature, the research hypothesis and conceptual framework were developed to guide the examination of student intention to use Islamic banking.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Esteli Julidi. My matrix number is BG24110-209. Today I will present about research methodology. This chapter explains the methodological procedure used to conduct a study on a factor influencing university student. Intention to use Islamic banking. It provides a systematic framework for collecting, analysis, and interpreting data. Secondly, a quantitative research design was adopted to objectively examine the relationship between attitude, social influence, awareness, reputation, and intention to use Islamic banking. This approach allows statistical analysis of numerical data. Next, a cross-sectional survey mention was used where data were collected at a single point in time. This design is efficient and commonly applied in a behavioral and consumer research. Data were collected using an online questionnaire distributed through the Google Form, social media, and university group channel. This mention is convenient and suitable for university students. The questionnaire consisted of closed-ended questions measured using a 5-point Likert scale. A pilot test was conducted to ensure clarity and reliability of the instrument. The study population comprised university students in Malaysia. This group is relevant because students are beginning to make independent finance decisions. Based on Tracy and Morgan guideline, this study targeted between 150 to 300 respondents due to time and accessibility constraints. This sample size is sufficient for behavior research. Convenient sample was used because it allows efficient data collection from readily available students. Although it has a limitation and acceptable for exploratory, the research instrument was structured questionnaire with a 6 section. Section A collected demographic data, Section B 2E measure independent variable, and Section F measure intention to use Islamic bank. Each variable was measured using a 5-item adapted from a validated past study. All variables were measured using a 5-point Likert scale. Data were analysis using SPSS, descriptive analysis summarized respondent profile, probability testing used Cronbach alpha, and regression analysis identify factor influencing intention to use Islamic banking. In summary, this chapter explains the research methodology used in the study. The structure approach ensure the reliability and validity of the finding, which will be present in the next chapter. That's all for me. Thank you.
My name is Claretta Dadaleri, number matrix BG24110478, and I will continue with my part, Chapter 4, Data Analysis and Findings. This chapter presents the data analysis and finding of the study on factor influencing university student intention to use Islamic banking. Firstly, demographic profile of respondent. This study involved 210 university students. Most respondents were aged between 21 and 23, which fit our target group of young adults. The gender distribution was quite balanced with 56% male and 44% female. Most respondents were bachelor degree students, meaning they are educated and financially aware. The sample also represents Malaysia Multicultural Society with Bumi Putra, Sabah being the largest group. Monthly income, most respondents have no income or earn below RM500, which reflect the financial situation of full-time students. However, many have already been using Islamic banking for between 1 and 5 years, and most use it weekly or monthly. This shows they have sufficient experience to provide meaningful opinion. Overall mean score. The overall results show that all variables record moderate mean score. Attitude has the highest mean at 3.20, while intention to use is also moderate at 3.14, indicating interest but not strong commitment. Next, descriptive analysis for independent variable. First, attitude toward Islamic banking. Students generally feel positive and believe Islamic banking is a good financial choice. However, the overall attitude remains moderate, suggesting room for improvement in perceived value. Awareness. Awareness shows a positive relationship with intention to use Islamic banking. Students have basic knowledge, but deeper understanding of product and benefit is still limited. Social influence. Social influence has moderate effect on student intention to use Islamic banking. Friend influence student more than family or lecturer in making banking decisions. Reputation. Reputation show the lowest influence among the independent variables. Although students generally trust Islamic bank, reputation alone is not strong enough to encourage usage. Correlation tests. All independent variables show a positive and significant relationship with intention to use Islamic banking. Awareness and attitude show stronger correlation compared to social influence and reputation. Reliability tests. Although some individual constructs have low reliability value, the overall Cronbach alpha is acceptable for an exploratory study. These indicate the measurement instruments are reliable for analysis.
Good day everyone, I am Muhammad Shamshah bin Victor and I will continue the presentation. For section 4.5, Pearson correlation analysis was conducted to examine the relationship between attitude, social influence, reputation, awareness and intention to use Islamic banking. The results show that all variables have positive and significant relationships with intention to use. Awareness shows the strongest correlation, followed by attitude, reputation, and social influence. Moving on to section 4.6, multiple linear regression analysis. The model explains approximately 20% of the variation in intention to use Islamic banking. Awareness is found to be the strongest significant predictor, followed by attitude and social influence. However, reputation does not show a significant effect on intention to use. In section 4.7, hypothesis testing was conducted using multiple linear regression analysis with a significance level of p less than 0.05. The results indicate that three hypotheses are supported, namely attitude, social influence, and awareness, as these variables have significant positive relationship with intention to use Islamic banking. However, the hypothesis related to reputation is rejected, as reputation does not significantly influence students' intention to use Islamic banking. In conclusion, the findings of this chapter show that attitude, social influence, and awareness are significant factors of influencing university students' intention to use Islamic banking in Malaysia. Among these factors, awareness emerged as the most influential determinant. On the other hand, reputation does not have a significant impact on intention to use. Overall, these findings provide empirical evidence on Islamic banking adoption and serve as a basis for further discussion in the next chapter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good evening. My name is Obedinel bin Ahmad Azra Sibesan. Matrix number BG2411046 from HE19, and today I'm going to discuss about our chapter 5, which is discussion and conclusion. So basically in this part, we are going to provide a clearer discussion and interpretation of our study. So in this discussion part, I'm going to talk about our 4IV, which is attitude, social influence, awareness, and reputation, and then we are going to discuss about it in comparative way. So moving on to our first hypothesis, which show a very significant relationship toward intention to use Islamic banks. We believe that university students are more likely to use Islamic banking because of them for having their own Islamic terms and have their own principle and also a good product. Moving on to our second hypothesis, which is social influence, also have a very significant relationship. We believe that the recommendation or opinion from family members and social circle affect the students' intention to use Islamic banking. Moving on to our third hypothesis, which is reputation. We believe that reputation does not play a crucial role for the intention to use Islamic bank. And now we are moving on to the fourth hypothesis, which is awareness. Based on our study, the more they're aware about the Islamic banking, the more they will intend to use Islamic banking. So, overall, the correlation analysis indicates that all four factors are significantly related to intention to use Islamic banking. Among the variable, awareness and attitude exhibits the strongest association with intention, while social influence show the weakest relationship. Although this method allows data to be collected efficiently, it may not fully represent the overall population of university students in Malaysia, since some of the subgroup may not be underrepresented in this section, which could affect the result of our study. Another limitation concerns the relatively short of the data collection period. Students' intention and perception toward Islamic banking may change over time due to the factors such as increased awareness or maybe the change of their attitudes for the service and product. which could affect the result in the future. And as for the recommendation for future research, we recommend to expand the sample size and include participants from a wider demographic background. Future studies should allow a longer period for data collection to improve response rate and data quality. And also, future research could explore variables that may influence the intention to use Islamic banking. There should be more, and in order to find it, we can do a larger research in this matter. As for the conclusion for this study investigated the factor influencing university students' intention to use Islamic banking in Malaysia. The results suggest that positive attitudes toward Islamic banking principles, support for social circle, adequate awareness, and a strong institutional reputation can enhance the willingness to adopt Islamic banking service. By considering the limitation of this study and building upon the suggested direction for future research, subsequent studies may provide deeper insight into student banking intention across different demographic groups.